Okay, to start with, I've created a folder on the desktop for my award-winning movie. Everything that I've collected, pictures, movies from the net, music, everything is in this folder. So once again, just looking inside this folder that I created for my award-winning movie, I've got music, I've got still shots, all that I want to use in this movie, plus I've got movie clips that I've gathered up, and these are all going to be the resources that I use to create my movie. And once again, they're all in that desktop folder. That's where I'm saving everything I do. When I produce the movie, which I'm going to do at least 3 times while I'm working on it so that I don't lose things, and so that I make sure that everything works as I'm going along and not discover problems on the last day when I'm trying to finally produce, it's all going to be stored in here. It makes it easier for the program to work because it's all in one place, and you'll find that everything works smoother because you're saving everything in this folder on the desktop. When I first open up Cyberlink Power Director, this is what I'm going to get in the window. It has a movie clip or two and some still shots, no music, but it's all here. And what you want to do to begin with is drag your cursor across them all so they're all highlighted like this, and then delete them. So once I've deleted everything from the upload window, what I'm going to do is go to Import Media, and I'm going to import a media folder. I'm going to click on the desktop where I have my folder for my award-winning movie. I'm going to click on that folder and say Select Folder, and the program will import everything in it. If you get a message like this, click OK. It will continue to upload everything except for the one it was having a hard time with. One thing you want to be aware of when you import your folder into the upload window is that there is going to be separate sections for images. You can see the detail here saying IMG, and movies here marked with an MVI, although different formats might say something different, and music, and they all come together in sequence. So in other words, the images here are uploaded in a sequence from the folder that I dragged them in from, and the movies are also in a sequence. It keeps them in according to your upload sequence. So that may help you in constructing your movie, or maybe not. So I'd like to start composing my movie, and I'm going to start with a still shot, which I'm going to drag down to the timeline here. This movie is going to be titled The Mustard Traverse, and so I'm using this shot of a mustard field, which I got at the beginning of it. I can shorten or lengthen how long this plays by grabbing the edge, and you can see when you've grabbed the edge because there's a small double arrow when you've really got it, and dragging it back and forth. As I do this in the small box, I can read the number of seconds that this clip will, or that this image will play. Selecting a movie clip to add to the timeline is really quite easy. You just click on the clip that you want and hold until it's highlighted blue, and then drag it down to the timeline. You'll notice that it's easy to put a movie on one side or the other. You just grab the clip and move it to where you want it in the frame. You can adjust as you go. You can decide what's going to be the sequence and simply shift it by clicking and holding and dragging the clip to another spot on the timeline. So I want to alert you to another useful feature. I decided to put this sunrise clip in the beginning, and when I click on it, you'll notice there's a blue highlight box around it and a series of things that I can do to this particular clip become available in the bar just above the timeline window. I'm going to go to Power Tools. It gives me 4 options, and I'm going to select Video Crop. When I select Video Crop and then click on the Crop Video button, it puts a frame around the part that I want. And what I'm going to do is very simply slightly zoom in on what it is that I would like to have for a focus. Notice that I can click my center diamond here and move this around to be exactly in the position that I want it. When I click OK, it shows up in the view frame here exactly the way I cropped it. Once I'm done with all that, I simply click the X up there and it takes me back to my edit window, and I can decide what my sequence is going to be here as I go along. Notice that anything that I've selected to go down onto the timeline has a green check here, so I know that I've already used it. So one handy feature of the program is that you can set the duration of a still clip by right-clicking on it and click on Set Duration. The beginning is in fractions of a second, and the second window is for seconds themselves. So I want this to be a little longer than 2.18 seconds, so I'm going to raise it up to about 5, which is a good viewing time for a single image. You wouldn't really want to go much more than 5 unless you're doing a narration in back of it. Click OK. You've now set, and you could see that expand there on the timeline. So as I'm editing, I play through clips, and I notice between this clip and the next clip that it doesn't really have a smooth transition as cuts go. So I might want to put in a transition. The thing is in a documentary, you don't want to get into gimmicky transitions that are going to be more of a distraction than they are going to help your movie. So I'd say keep the transitions simple, perhaps a simple fade or a crosscut would be a good idea. If I drag that between the clips, then you can see the result of what that looks like from one to the next. It does make the transition just a little bit smoother. I was watching this clip and noticed that my camera slipped down to the ground for a moment, so I want to cut that piece out. I can use the previous frame arrows right up here in the just below the viewing window, and use that previous frame to precisely move back to the starting point where I'd like to split the clip and cut out a piece. Once I find the point that I want to split the clip at, I highlight the clip by clicking on it, and then I hit the split button and split the movie in half there. That allows me to delete the part I don't want. So as I'm editing through, I notice that there's a place where I want to split one of my clips and get rid of some of the end of it. So again, what I'm going to do here is use my arrow indicator here to go one frame at a time forward until I am just past the guys riding by. And as soon as the shadow's out of the frame there, I'm going to split right here. I'll click on that clip, I'll split, and then I'll delete the small piece that was left. So let's say in my recording I would like to add a little bit of narration to what's going on so that I can explain something. I'll click on the microphone icon here. You can see it's highlighted and it pops up this window. Notice that while I'm talking, this bar here is showing a highlight of what my voice is doing. You want to avoid hitting the red area up there. It's kind of like having too much feedback in your microphone. So set this slider right here so that you're in the range of about 2/3. When you click the record button, you can say what you want to say. So in this sequence, I'm actually filming while I'm riding down this road in back of Anna and Brent Hamilton. And you can see that we switched into the next clip here, so perhaps that's where my narration is going to explain that this is where we stopped for lunch. Once you click on the record button again, what you've said is automatically added to the line that shows the little speaker on the left. And you can edit the clip any way you want by going back to the edit window and treating it just as if it were a normal sound clip. So when I get to the point where I want to add title, credits, or perhaps captions to different parts of the movie, I'm going to click on this little T here. It brings up this window default. And I'm going to drag this down to the title line and drop it. You can see that my title now appears in the beginning window here. When I double click this, you can see my title showing up in the center of the window. If I click on this, double click, I will get a red cursor that allows me to highlight and change this to any of the pre-built combinations here. You also may want to be aware that you can alter the colors of these if you need to, if you don't find one that works for what you're trying to do here. So once you've selected the style you want, you can also change the size. You might want to think about changing the size for different parts of your title. For instance, I could say Mustard Traverse here, and then I could say shot by Michael Citrino, edited by Michael Citrino, and that part might want to be smaller so that it doesn't command as much attention for the viewer. When I'm thinking about placing my title on the page, I might want to think about what it's blocking out. Perhaps I want to grab the box and move it to a more advantageous position, and that way it doesn't block some key feature in the clip that I'm showing. So it's something that you should think about. What is the composition that you're creating? Are you using crap in your composition? So speaking of crap, I decided that I wanted to go with a similar color to the sunrise that I was seeing in this opening clip. So I selected this. I'm finally satisfied with where I've placed it. I'm going to click OK, and that's going to show up in that opening clip. But I look at this and it seems to me, just by the size of it, that it might be too long, so I'm going to do that. Right click, set duration. 10 seconds is definitely too long for a title this short. If I had something really long I needed to read, I would obviously want to time it so that I could actually read what I've done, and normally I do that by reading while I'm setting the number of seconds. I'm going to say that 6 seconds will be a fine time. So I've decided that I want to add an entry animation to my title, and so I'm going to double click that title window again. Click on the one that looks like a little splat, highlight your title, select more. I'm going to scroll down to a animation which is quite simple. Once again, I want to remind you that you don't want to get gimmicky. Keep it simple. I'll click OK, and you can see that that's kind of fast. So what I'm going to do is set the timing here by taking the blue slider over a bit, and then I can test that by clicking this. I like the timing on that, so I click OK. I've added another title slide to the end. This is where I'm going to put my credits. So when I double click this, it brings up the window. Once again, I'm going to select this, and this is where you would paste your credits. But I really want to remind you, you need to give the viewer enough time to read your credits. So set the time by checking the time as you read through them. Take enough time to read through them completely, and that's what you should set the time on this for, so that your viewer has enough time to read the credits. So I've got my credits finished, and I think I'm ready to add some music. What I'm going to do is just drag the music down to the beginning of the line here with the notes on it, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag the cursor up to the end. I want the music to play right up to the end of the credits, and so I'm going to split that and delete the extra, and I'll go to the beginning of the credits and I'll click on the line here, and I'm going to drop in a small point right there, and then on the end here I'll grab, guess I missed that point, put in a small point there. I'm going to drag this down so that as my credits are playing, that's going to fade the sound out. Right here you see us packing up the truck at the end of the ride. The credits appear, and the music, of course, fades out. That's about it. So I've already pre-produced this 2 times, but I'm going to produce it one more time. And I want to remind you of the procedure here. Click on the Produce button up here at the top. It'll bring you into this window. Click on MPEG 2. Everything is exactly where you want it to be. It's preset to the defaults of DVD high quality, which is good, NTSC, which is more useful to us for posting on YouTube or taking back to the States. I'm going to type in here the title of my movie. I'm going to click on this little button right here, go back to the desktop, double click on the folder where I want this to go, and I'm going to click Save. It's not producing yet. What I have to do now is click Start. And now my movie is producing for the final time. So this is a basic run-through on how to use PowerDirector, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something. I'll be up in M22 during our movie production phase, and please feel free to come up and ask me questions. Thanks for watching.